Hey guys, it's Ted Cantu here, coming at you with the Miracle Mindshift. And today is Saturday, day 57. And I want to share with you some ideas because the show about prosperity yesterday, you know, I had a tendency to talk a lot. And sometimes my points are maybe glossed over or I don't emphasize the right parts enough. And I want to make sure that you get the whole thing. So, explained. So we're just going to tighten up some concepts from the first show. And I promised you a couple episodes on prosperity. So we're going to be doing that. And I think this will probably clarify my points of view a little bit better. So hopefully you understand it and start using it in your life. All right. Miracles. We got some miracles coming in. I actually have some really, really good ones yesterday. We had some crisis in our family and just a little bit. I mean, a crisis is, never a good thing. But what we talked about when anxiety and stress actually pops up in your life, it really is a warning signal from the quantum field that's trying to push its way in, right? And offer a solution. It's saying, hey, pay attention to the light. It's right here. Here's a crisis point. Don't flip out, but there's a solution here from the light. And if you let me in, I'll take care of it for you. I think that's the greatest deal in the universe. That's the greatest deal in life. And we need to pay attention to things like that instead of flipping out. So before I go into that, I did mention yesterday about the Daily Mail. For some reason, I'm on the Daily Mail. From England. I get it like in my Twitter account. But what's funny about them is that they only see the worst in us over there. So they report they even report our suicides over there. Like when people jump out of their windows, whether it be Chicago, the Gold Coast, or New York City, they report it. The New York Post does too, sometimes, but it and as far as murder cases and just really extreme crime, the UK only sees the worst in us. So anyway, my point yesterday was that people will tend to do things to harm themselves around the holiday season because they just feel left out. Maybe they're lonely. They don't have family around them. They may not have riches, success, love from anybody. Lack of children, lack of friends. Sometimes in life, our best friends die off, and we're our family dies off, and we're just like we feel like we're stranded emotionally. People tend to hurt themselves. They will kill themselves. They'll jump out of windows and everything else. And that's a very terrible thing. So this time of year, we need to remember that people are going through a lot of different stress and anxiety, which is ironic because this is supposed to be the happiest time of the year, right? Christmas season, Hanukkah, all about family, love, and traditions. And some people choose to take themselves out, which is not a good thing. But I use that illustration to share with you that when anxiety and stress show up in your life, it is actually the light trying to communicate to us, and it wants to work with us. And if we submit our ego, get that cast aside, and let the light come to work for us, it wants to work and untangle the destructiveness and clear out the clutter, come in and solve your problems if you allow it to. That's the word, allow. And that is why I bring that up. So, dealing with the light is a really great thing. We're talking about this now on the Miracle Mind Shift. I am Ted Cantu, ex-art director in Chicago and New York City. I worked in advertising for many years. And now I am bringing lessons of spiritual consciousness to you because I'm a believer. And I'm on day 57 of this quest to learn more about the light and to work with it and to clean up my subconscious mind that acts as a mental magnet for destructive forces. I decided to get rid of a lot of things this year. I got rid of some programming, negative programming, not just with family and friends and past traumatic memories, but I also got rid of Netflix for a while. I got rid of a lot of cable programs. Now, that's programming too. You know, the stuff that we listen to on our cable stations are not exactly the best, have our best interest at heart. I believe there's a whole ton of movies I haven't watched on Netflix about um, murders, ghosts, and horror movies, and there was really nasty stuff on there. They had a whole series on serial killers, and it's just like disgusting, man. I don't want to watch that stuff. But you know what? When we carry that stuff around with us, it's known as programming. I mean, we're programming ourselves watching this stuff. We're programming our subconscious minds watching this garbage. And I tell you what, it's not a good thing. It's not a healthy thing. It's not something I want to do. And I really gotta say, it reminded me of a story today about a guy I used to know in the art scene in Detroit. And he used to dress up in his tracksuit with looked like a scuba diving suit with he called himself Gummy Man. And what he used to do is he used to show up at public events, walk around, and have people chew up pink bubble gum, and they'd spit it out and they'd put it on his body. There's a picture of him right here, Gummy Man. And he was fighting breast cancer or bringing attention to breast cancer awareness, which is really cute, but I don't know how effective it was long term. You can get your picture taken with him at these events, but he was Gummy Man. Now, here's the point: when you accept this stuff, this negative programming stuff, you carry it around with you. So, as an example, like all right, some serial killer documentaries. You remember their names. You remember the faces of the victims. You carry this stuff around with you. It blocks the light. It blocks the good stuff, and you carry it around. Or some horrible lyrics that you might hear from a pop song, talking about your ego and how you're going to do in your enemies. You carry that stuff around with you too. And what does this do ultimately? It's like a sludge. It just hangs around with you. You know, it reminds me of a thing I read about using sage to actually wash off the filth and the crud, you know, all of the negative crud that you collect that we can't see. Supposedly, Moses, going back to the Old Testament, used to smudge his people in the mornings with sage to get rid of all the negative stuff off of them. This is what I read. I don't know if it's true or not, but I read it somewhere. And for all you new ageists out there, I actually heard that using sage actually attracts evil spirits or negative spirits instead of repelling them. So that phrase that we always say, like "go smudge yourself," you might want to reconsider some of that. Forgiveness and clearing the negativity is probably the best thing. These are my thoughts this morning. All right. So what we have is the stress and the light, anxiety, holidays. Do you actually have to do something drastic to yourself when it really can be about forgiveness from the heart? from the total heart, that you don't want to carry this stuff around with you to attract more negative situations and conditions. Some people don't think they have any other options, and that's sad, because to forget the trauma, you'll actually do things to yourself, like try to forget forcefully with pills, alcohol, sex, drugs, just to forget what you're dealing with. You think your days are long now. Wait till you get involved with that stuff, man. That'll make your days seem like endless, endless days of misery, right? Myself, I'd rather scrub it clean and get rid of it. But Yehuda Berg, the author of True Prosperity, says it like this. You know, when stress and anxiety show up, it's really a signal from the quantum field of the light trying to get through, so it can actually help get rid of the negative situation. Pay attention to that. It's like you're always going to have it. You're never going to get completely rid of it. It's always going to show up. But if you learn to recognize it as like a warning light, then pay attention to it and resolve it. You know that I believe it's like, what is it? Like 90% of our fears are never realized. That's interesting to me. In other words, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. Your days are never as traumatic as it. In our own imaginations, we have the tendency to run wild. Another way to look at this is like this. I believe it's in the book of Peter, the gospel, that says to not worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has its own concerns. It has its own problems. Okay. We worry too far out in advance. That's not a good thing for us. But tomorrow has its own problems, and it has its own solutions, and it has its own blessings. And to add to that, every day has its own set of mercies, tender mercies, that'll come in and resolve problems. The Lord's Prayer actually addresses that, to give us our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from all evil. And mean it. And you know what else, too? I want to add to that. Take care of your company. You know, there's some people that are in your life that probably need to go, that bring nothing but negativity and problems. And you're going to have to clean house. You know, one of the best things that happened to me years ago was I had a buddy in Detroit he hated my spiritual studies, actually hated it. He actually threw me out of a bar in front of all of his friends and said, we don't appreciate you coming around here. Because I was always full of positivity and, I was conversational. These guys are not conversational at all. Drug and alcohol people are like that. They're not, they don't have your best interest at heart, but not only that, they're stuck in their own little rhythm that only makes sense to themselves. He did me a favor. Well, one of the things he used to do, which is interesting to me, was he would take a picture of himself in the men's room, and there was a clown picture in there, a clown painting. And he would always get in there and take selfies of him every weekend. It was really weird. It might have been funny to his friends for the first 50 times, but after a while, it's absurd. I did it once just to be part of the gang. Not proud of it, but I did it for a goof and kind of forgot about it. But this guy, like, this is his life. This is what he does. This is like the thing he looks forward to every week. It's really, really strange. Anyway, the point is that I got away from that negative stuff. I started forging my own path. I adopted a new set of principles to guide myself. I also looked at my own blueprint. What is it that leads you up to anxiety and frustration, and how to break away from it and do your own thing? When you do that and align yourself in harmony with the spirit, your whole life will change, and you will not reach a crisis point like those poor people in the Daily Mail that see no other option but to jump. Theodore C says, don't jump. I'm telling you, it's not worth it, because there is a solution. There's a spiritual solution to every problem. And we talked about that in part one. So no matter if it's health, family, dysfunction, or financial, any one of those little buttons pop up on your radar like, oh my God, something's happened. I'm going to flip out. That's a warning light for the light on the other side. The quantum field, the energetic field that we can't feel, that we really actually can't see it, but it's filled with nothing but probabilities. How do we respond? Are we reactive, or are we the creator? Are we going to create a solution, or are we just going to react and panic? Those things are important. You're here now on this earth to call the shots, not to be what I call Destiny's football, get kicked around from one miserable thing to another, but you're here to actually be the cause of happiness, be the cause of financial gain, be the cause of family peace, and be the cause of all dysfunction. So remember this, especially now. I think it was you have to give to receive. If we are, what is this, I'm sorry, this is my background is kind of flopping on my hair. All right, so to be the giver is the most important thing. We got to give to receive. Isn't that what they tell us at Christmas? It's always better to give than to receive. But it's cliche. And when it's cliche, it don't make any sense. If it has meaning, then all of a sudden it becomes important. But that's a strong Kabbalistic principle. You got to give to receive. So in other words, if you want love, you got to give love. If you want, family, good family relationships, you got to give to that. You got to be the peacemaker for dysfunction. And finances are interesting too. We did a whole thing about financial stuff yesterday, which this does tie into. If you want more prosperity, you got to give in your life somewhere. This is an important concept. So you got to give. All right. I got some notes here about this. There used to be a Kabbalah center in Detroit. And I don't know why that didn't last, but I had some really strange interactions with going to live events in Detroit when it comes to prosperity. We don't seem to really get it here. I've sat in audiences where we're supposed to talk about prosperity, and it just seems to like go flat. And in fact, I was disappointed when the Kabbalistic Kabbalah Center left Detroit. We used to have meetings. We started having meetings every month, and then it just went silent. Now Chicago, it's running wild. Of course, in New York, it's its own thing. And this is a global organization, but I noticed that when they came here and we talked about the concept that we got to give first before you can receive, that didn't really go over a whole lot with the crowd that I was sitting with. I don't know what that was all about, but they didn't. It was all like, give me the program for free, and if I like it, if I get results, I'll pay you. All right, that's like that wasn't the offer. But that's how they internalized it, the people. I saw this happen with T. Harv Eker too. And he came in here and he wrote The Millionaire Mind. And you know, that went over people's heads. I believe Damon Johns came here from Shark Tank, and you know, same type of thing. We had a group of people that show up that are really into the hip hop culture. You know, there's a lot of ego with that music, a lot of the rap stuff, a lot of ego. And unfortunately, when it came to buy a program to help them for, you know, to be prosperous, they weren't interested in doing that. And the guy came out. I want to say one of the guys came out and kind of chewed us out. You know, that you got to give to, you know, you got to pay if you want to see some results. And I was embarrassed for Detroit. I actually sat there just taking it. And I'll tell you what, it happened in another place I went to. Uh, there was a guy named Miles. I think he did some sort of tax breaks or something. And he came over here to give a seminar on how to receive money on taxes and how to do a whole business tax program. And then people applauded for him like this. Hey, thanks for coming. And he didn't want the applause. He said, I want your money. I want you to buy my program so I can show you how to save money. And I said, I don't need your applause. This is embarrassing. Now, I've never seen it in any other place, but I'm starting to wonder now if Detroit has like this lack of wealth consciousness, or are we all sitting on old money? And I don't say me, I say a lot of places that I've seen. We chase off a lot of industry here. We chase off the film industry and told them to hit the road. And I don't know why, but Chicago has that you know, that recognition. They're cooperative with zoning permits and shooting programs and all these TV shows and movies that get filmed over there. We didn't want it. We didn't want the money, I guess. But it's interesting to me that to actually see this and to read books like, you know, Yehuda Berg's True Prosperity and put it in perspective into my life that I was here in Metro Detroit and seeing these things unfold has me asking a lot of big questions. All right, I promise to keep this short. I just want to tighten up that whole thing about the stress and the light and anxiety. Hopefully you got that message. And I'm going to recommend that all of you start thinking about your own roadmap, your own prosperity roadmap. Who's in it? Who's blocking you from getting what you want? The kind of people you're hanging out with? Where is it you want to go? What's lacking? And what is it you need to change to get yourself into a prosperous life? If you have any questions, and I'm sure you do, you can always call me at 248-277-6141. You can always give me a shout out on my website at tedcantu.com. And my email is tedcantu@gmail.com. See, we make it easy for you. So there you go. I want to thank you for joining me today. I wish you a happy and prosperous season, Christmas and Hanukkah, and of course, prosperity in your family, for you and your friends. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you online.